It is a typical attitude of a Hausaman to always attribute everything or just surrender everything to God. And that is why maybe these issues of killings and everything in Zamfara are not over-dramatized by our people. I had reasons to speak on the floor to commend the Benue State government and the people that came out all in mass, to condemn roundly the killing of 73 people by the bandits. And that is why I always accuse them for a state government for not doing enough, to bring this issue to the front banner. Your citizens are being killed day in, day out. And for some inexplicable reasons, you now want to silence everybody. You don't want it to be known by everybody. And even when you cannot contain the problems. So because of these reasons, we don't form IDP camps and everything. Anytime there is this kind of disaster in Zamfara, you just find people try to shift and accommodate their brothers and sisters that are affected. The situation is so bad, like everybody knows. And like some of the figures I quoted on the floor, even though the figures might not be exact, that is why in the prayer, I also requested that NEMA, in conjunction with the security agencies, carry out a holistic census of the number of victims raped, number of people killed, number of people kidnapped, and so on and so forth. From various figures you hear from people, we put the death at maybe 10,000 to 15,000 people killed from 2011 to date. Now, if you take a conservative figure of like 10,000 people, and you assume maybe 8,000 out of the 10,000 people are adults, and looking at the culture of houses and so on, you would now know that 8,000 people killed. If you take an average of 2 wives, like I said, considering the kind of people that are being affected by this incident. Now, 2 wives times 8,000, you have 16,000 widows. Who is taking care of them? Who is feeding them? Their husbands are dead. Everybody saw it. Mass burial every other day, maybe on weekly, monthly basis. 100 people killed, 20, 30, 15, 50, 9, 2, 3. In fact, nobody reports anymore 1, 2, 3, 5 murders. Every day, it happens every day. Now, if you take now like 5 children per family, which is quite modest, there are some people you go in villages that have over 30 children, some 20, some 15, 16. But if you take an average or a modest figure of 5, now 5 times 8, you are talking of 40,000 orphans. Who is taking care of these orphans? Nobody asks. And nobody is interested to know. Maybe until when we start dramatizing and making concentration camps or what do you call it, internally displaced camps and so on, before people would know that we have these challenges. So now the net effect is the whole of these 40,000 people have now squeezed themselves with their brothers and sisters in different homes and villages, and overstretching, their scarce food resources and so on and so forth. So when the federal government announced this thing, I felt saddened. Because when you include states like Benue and Nasarawa, though qualified to receive this kind of assistance, but the casualty ratio in Zamfara far outweigh the casualties in Nasarawa and Benue State. If you take Yobe and Borno State out in Nigeria, there is no state in Nigeria, as I'm talking today, that suffers this problem like Zamfara State. No state. I make bold to say this. So who is taking care of all these people? Now, another statistics put at the women raped at 5,000. Yes, 5,000 women. Now, who is taking care about their health, their hospital bills and everything? Nobody is doing. So this is, in a nutshell, this is what informed my decision, to approach the leadership of the Senate to say that, look, well, this is what I had over the news, and this is, and I spoke to my colleagues, and everybody, was in agreement that this motion be supported, and the federal government be called upon to, if the Nasarawa and the Benue State are given 3,180 metric tons, the first state should get, from the announcement, they said the states of Yobe, Borno, Adamawa, and Taraba to get 10,000 metric tons. The first state should get nothing in the range of like that 10,000. Because much as there are so much these casualties in Northeast, but they have been receiving assistance. And I want to see that kind of assistance, coming from MDS, from well-meaning Nigerians, and so on and so forth. Yes, Mr. Okoro.
We've been discussing security.
Yes.
Just yesterday, the Senate also took time out to talk about security. Why that debate?
Human beings are not perfect. And events shape, every aspect of human endeavor. The democracy we are practicing today didn't start it this way. Those that gave birth to it, started it in a different way, but their experiences shaped it to where it is. So I'm sure what happened today is going to shape the way things or the way business is conducted in the National Assembly. I think what happened before now is National Assembly is being looked at and is seen by both legislators and even the workers as people's house, where everybody can come in and go out, lay complaints, do everything. I think that is, but this is just my own definition. I'm not necessarily saying that that is what it is. So because of that, there is less interrogation and search and so on, and restrictions in who comes in and who goes out, when you compare it to judiciary and executive branch. If you look at the membership here, we have 109 senators, 360 member House of Representatives. It's different from having just one president. So if you say you are going to the villa, now you are going to see the president, it's just one. Here, you can have maybe like 100, 200 people coming to see these people because of the number. Then you look at the size of the staffings. So looking at that, you would naturally have high influx of people coming into National Assembly and going out. But having said that, there is a very serious lapse. We have very corrupt, what do you call it, gate managers. I don't know who they are. Because if you interview almost all the legislators, they will tell you one thing. Now, if your father is coming to visit you, your wife, your son, your uncle, or any responsible Nigeria, in quote, when I say responsible here, I don't mean that some are quite irresponsible as such. Now, he or she passes through a lot of embarrassments, questioning, interrogations, phone calls sometimes. He or she will call you and tell the security man that the senator or the House member wants to speak to you, and he will tell her or him that he doesn't want to speak to anybody because let the senator send his distance. But you go out, you see beggars on our corridors everywhere. In fact, there are people you can even call sons of the soil of National Assembly because you see them every blessed day, every day. But today, if you are representing channels, AIT, or anybody for that matter, you come to gates of National Assembly with your ID card and everything, the security system will ask you, who are you going to see? Where is the form he filled? Where is this? Where is that? So I think what happened today, when you look at it from another perspective, could be a blessing. Because definitely, certainly, these issues must be addressed now. Because for people to just walk into the National Assembly and into the chamber, don't forget, this chamber this chamber, you know, is not open to even members of House of Representatives or senators, as the case may be. You have to austere rules to admit them in. When members of House of Representatives came in to pay solidarity visit to us, some of you that watch, you would see that they were stopped. The leader of the Senate had to move a motion and seconded by the minority leader to austere our rule, you know, to admit these sons of the soil who are bona fide members of that thing. And the same thing happens if senators are going into chambers of House of Representatives. So if members cannot just enter the chamber anyhow, Ita Enang today is, what do you call it? Is S8 president. He was a councillor. He was a member of House of Assembly, member of House of Representatives, and a senator. But he cannot enter the chamber today without being admitted. So for people to just come from nowhere and just violate the sanctity of the chamber, you know, it is not about Marafa or Senator Ahmed Lawan or Senator Saraki or Senator Ekweda Madu. No, it is about an institution, you know, violating an institution. So, and everybody, you know, knows the implication of that. Yes, sir.
Yes, the last time
that is what I said on the floor. I am against the rule that stipulates suspension of legislators. I'm against it. Yes, and I'm still on that platform. However, politics is a game of number. I was not the only one that opposed the suspension of Omo Agigi. Speakers before me opposed it too. In fact, the Senate leader was the first to speak on that day, and I remember, even in my own comments, I first of all aligned myself to what he said. And so that is to say, I agree with all he said about that. However, I don't believe you can gather people and say there is no means of sanction. Yes. So I feel we must do something, or we must come out with some sanctions that would be severe enough, you know, to deter members from doing or taking some actions. But at the same time, doesn't deny the people he or she is representing from having a representative in the chamber. Because it is not about the person. It is about the people he represents. But that is not to say that because you are representing people, you can just do anything and go away with it. No. So we must sit down and look at the appropriate stick to use. Yes. Since maybe there is a carrot. So we look at, we define the carrots and see. So if you commit so offense, so which carrot can we snatch away from you that will deter you? You know, when you want to take some decisions, you now think twice that if I do so, then this is what is going to happen. I will give example. Maybe contrary to what the general public is made to believe by you media men about juicy committee or something. I don't believe there is anything juicy committee. But of course there are grade A, grade B, grade C, maybe committees, depending on, it is all about influence. I have always given an example. You cannot compare, for instance, somebody heading the committee on foreign affairs, for instance, with somebody heading the committee of like MDG, for instance. MDG is just one office, and that's all. Now, somebody heading the committee of foreign affairs, you know, has influence in all over the world. Because you clear the ambassadors, so many things. So it is all about influence. So, and that is the essence of politics. That is the essence of being in politics. I want to be relevant and influential. How do I influence decisions of my country and so on and so forth? So this is some of the things that we should begin to look at these committees as, not in terms of Naira and Kobo, because fact of the matter is, it's not like that. Now, maybe we can like say, if you do certain offenses like this, and that, and you are heading a grade A committee by virtue of maybe staying long in the legislature, because it's one of the considerations. Our rule says that he who comes before you is your senior. So now you can be downgraded to like committee B or C, or even denied chairmanship because it's a privilege. That one is a privilege. It's not a right. So maybe even being denied chairmanship of any committee, you can be relegated to like vice chairman or something. And I think that would be even more painful, because you will just be a senator or a member of House of Representatives without influence, because you cannot do anything. So there are a lot of other things that we can do, but definitely not suspension. I don't subscribe to it. However, like I said, democracy is a game of numbers. So if the majority see it differently from the way you see it, they have their way, while you only have your say. Like we had that day when Omo Agigi issue was discussed. Some people opposed it, but majority of the senators seated there, saw it the other way around. And like we have seen today in the discussion of INEC issues, majority were against it, and it failed. And that is democracy for you. And I was very happy that these issues happened the same day today. Because part of what people were saying is Omo Agigi was punished because he is supporting the president on election sequence. And that day I spoke, I said, it's not true. I am for president. I support the president. And many people do. And they said their minds today. But I don't believe in the formation of any group in the Senate now, especially to say that you are forming the group to support the president. You are lying. Whoever said that, and it's counterproductive. Because fact of the matter is they cannot push anything. In fact, they would jeopardize the chances of the president. Yes, that is the truth of the matter. So somebody like me that supports the president wholeheartedly will oppose, because of the president, anything formed, to say that you are going to support the president. And the Nigerians, sometimes we don't ask questions, and especially you. Most of these members that form this group today were at the forefront of fighting the president when we initiated this assembly. They were against it. So you see, God has a way of rewarding people. Yes, most of them, they opposed vehemently the position of the party. We didn't fight Saraki. Let me speak for myself because I'm no longer the spokesperson of any group now. Me, Kabir Marafa, I didn't oppose Saraki because I don't like Saraki. Saraki is my friend. He is my very, very good friend throughout 7th Assembly. Senator Lawal also was my very, very good friend, and senior brother in the 7th Assembly. When the two of them came out to contest, I had to bring the two of them together to talk. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't know how I will go to Lawal's house and tell him that I'm supporting you and go to Saraki's house and say, I don't do that. So I brought the two of them to talk together. They are all alive. People can find out. But some of these members refused because of their own interest. Now, it is because they have lost favor now. Now they are now turning around to say we are backing the president. They are sabotaging the president. And I make bold to say this. Anybody forming any association today in the Senate to say he or she is supporting the president is sabotaging the president, because he is going to put the president's policies and actions in a more precarious position when the chips are down. Because the fact is, he cannot take it to anywhere. Some of us that fought this thing maybe now to see that it failed is because we are doing it on this thing. If it was just the presidential support group or parliamentary group, the thing would have seen the light of the day. They cannot stop it. That is the truth. So this is just it. I'm happy that the Omo Agigi affair happened today, and the issue of the INEC came up today, nobody would say the Senate. Now, if it were maybe like it takes place tomorrow, people would have said that if not because of what happened, this thing would have passed. But the truth of the matter is now they happen concurrently the same day today, and nobody planned, nobody saw this Omo Agege thing coming to happen today, and the thing was listed. And the people spoke. New, it's not about new. You cannot, the only thing that you don't have duplicates, I want to say in life, is your life. Yes, yes. Even these offices, I have other offices. You see, I can go to the Senate leader's office and sit down. So it's not about having new mess. You know, it's about the maturity of the Senate itself. Because the man that came and they picked the mess, I think there were only about 2 or 3. And how many senators were in there? So if we were to return fire for fire, he couldn't have been able to take it. Some of us are even more stubborn than some of them that came in there. That is the truth of the matter. We are politicians. And you need to do politics. You need to contest as a senator for you to know that you have to be rugged, super rugged, yes, for you to be a senator. But it is not about tawdry or whatever. So you can come and pick anything. After all, we have another one. We have the option. Yes, he is a Nigerian, whoever came in. But the unfortunate thing is when you start wrestling with women, pushing them down, and so on and so forth, I think that is quite irresponsible, and it should not happen. Well, I'm not the Senate. I'm just a senator, so I cannot say what is going to happen. It is the Senate that will decide what happens. But one thing I must say is the sanctity of the chamber must be respected, must be maintained, and we must, because even Omo Agege himself, much as I sympathize with him, much as I support him and everything, his highest title today, like I said, is a senator. He was SSG before, but his highest senator today is a senator. And I'm sure he would not want to be branded as a thug senator. He would not like that. He would not want to hear that from anybody. So I think respecting to a reasonable extent, you know, the Senate rules, procedures, sanctity, and everything, I think it will serve his interest and the interest of everybody, because he would want to be respected when he's called a senator. And if for any reason the Senate is denigrated and you go out and say you are a senator, you say, oh, no wonder, he is a senator now, they are thugs. I don't think you would like it. You would begin to drop the name. Am I free now? Yes.